I would just get like very jittery. Like my hands, they would go like this. And they wouldn't stop for the whole day, even though I only had 1 cup of coffee. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Evelyn. In this video, I just wanted to share with you the reasons to why I don't drink coffee anymore. And it's a subject that I know no one asked for on this channel, but I've been getting a lot of attention and kind of like questions in real life as to why I don't drink it anymore, because I used to be such a coffee lover, and I still am, but it's something that I've sacrificed for the greater good and for my health. But before we jump into the video, I just wanted to remind you to subscribe to this channel if you like my content, and make sure to hit that notification bell down below so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So my history with coffee, this is actually not coffee, it's matcha, but just showing you the cup. My history with coffee is I started drinking coffee probably in high school, around maybe like when I was like 16, 17, I really started drinking it because it was a time of my life where I was studying very hard in school, and of course like studying usually comes along with having some sort of energy drink or like coffee, and so I would have it like at least once or twice a day, sometimes throughout the day at school as well, depending on like how long my day was. And I live in Sweden as well, and Sweden has such like culture that's surrounding coffee, because we have this thing called fika, which literally could be translated into like a coffee break. Like fika paus is like a coffee break, and it's basically where we sit down and we have a coffee with someone and we have like a cinnamon bun or something. And it's actually a quite common phenomenon here in Sweden, and every time someone says fika, you know there's coffee included. And I think on every single workplace you need to have coffee, at least if it's a Swedish company, because people get really mad when there's no coffee at the workplace, because it's such a common thing to have. And especially on film set, because I recently worked on some film sets, and people get so grouchy and so in such a bad mood when there's no coffee on set. And I know this because I was a production assistant, so I was the one that arranged coffee for people. But anyway, so that is the situation where I live now. So of course, like I used to drink coffee and I used to love it, especially with like oat milk, you know, the Oatly, it's so good. And I understand people who drink it a lot, because it gives you like, it does give you that like rush of energy and that like rush of, yes, like I can take on the day now, I have energy, I can do this. But the problem was that I noticed it, I think it was last winter, that whenever I had coffee, I didn't make this correlation then, but I'm making it now because I'm realizing later on that whenever I had coffee during winter last year, I would just get like very jittery. Like my hands, they would go like this. And they wouldn't stop for the whole day, even though I only had 1 cup of coffee. And I kept thinking, because I'm someone who suffers a lot with anxiety and panic attacks, or I used to in the past, like at least with panic attacks. And the jitters just made me feel like I was about to get a panic attack, because it was a similar effect. And I also felt like whenever I went to sleep, my heart was still kind of like this. And I would like lay on my side, because I always lay on my side. And it was almost like my heart was like clenching, and I felt my heart like beating super fast, and it made me really scared. But I didn't really make the correlation, because when I like last winter I worked in retail, and it was always like go every day. So I would go to work, and you know, we would like run around and we would like fold clothes. So I didn't really realize, I just thought I was stressed out, which was probably true as well, to be honest. Like I was probably really stressed just because of life in general. But then I went on a backpacking trip in February, March, and I went to Vietnam. Vietnam was one of the countries that I visited. And in Vietnam, they have freaking amazing Vietnamese coffee. And for you guys who don't know, Vietnamese coffee is basically like a shot of coffee, so it's like a really strong shot with condensed milk and with ice. And I think the condensed milk is what masks the reality of how strong this coffee really is, because I researched later, and I figured out that Vietnamese coffee is actually much stronger than the coffee that we drink here in the West, like Arabica bean. And man, I felt the effect of that coffee, because I noticed that I started having like major anxiety, and at first I just thought that it was because, you know, I was in a new country, I was alone, I didn't know anyone, so of course I'm gonna be anxious. But it came to a point where like when I went to bed, I really couldn't sleep. Like I was just like super awake and feeling like super anxious and worried, or at least that's what I thought. I mean, I was like on a trip, I was on a holiday, like I don't know what was going on with me, and I remember I was on the phone with my brother and I was like, I can't calm down, I don't know what's going on. And I hadn't slept like well that night. So, and then I made a correlation that maybe it's actually the coffee that's making me feel this way, because obviously in Vietnam I was having coffee more than usual because one, it was really good. Second, it was cheaper than back here. And like third, I was in a different country. Of course I was gonna try like their delicacies. But yeah, so I stopped having it midway through my trip, and at first I got like major withdrawal syndrome. I would get like major withdrawal symptoms. So for example, I would get headaches and I would just feel very drowsy. But after that period of the withdrawal symptoms, I felt so much better. And I did some research on as to like why we feel this way when we drink coffee, and it's basically obviously the caffeine in the coffee makes our bodies pump out adrenaline, and the adrenaline is basically the fight or flight hormone that we need like when we are in those situations that are like dangerous. And that's why sometimes it feels like we have anxiety, because it can, like, coffee can increase your heart rate, it can make your heartbeat really fast. And the thing that I got was like heart palpitations, so I felt like my heart was like beating irregularly. So several times I actually went to the doctor because I thought something was wrong with my heart, but in reality it was just the coffee making me feel that way. And also I would get like muscle spasms here and there, and I would get the jitters, which made me also not be able to sleep. And the other thing that coffee does is also pumping out dopamine, which is basically like the happy hormone. And it turns out that those two hormones that pump out as an effect of coffee is the same effect that we get from taking cocaine, but obviously in a much bigger doses when it's cocaine. Coffee is a drug after all, so just remember that if you're drinking coffee now and you're having a lot of it. And the third thing that I found out that I had no idea about was that there's this neurochemical in our brain called adenosine. And it's basically these chemicals that the body sends out when we are getting more tired during the day. So like the more tired we get, the more adenosine we get. It's like basically a chemical that tells us that we are tired and that we need to sleep. But apparently the caffeine in coffee has the same chemical structure as this chemical. So it actually replaces adenosine, which kind of sounds really bad. But when it does that, it replaces that feeling of feeling tired to energetic, even though we might actually be really tired. And the more coffee we drink, the more of these receptors our body produces, like the adenosine receptors, and the more coffee we have to drink to stay in that same alertedness. Isn't that crazy, guys? Like, I can't believe that that coffee has so many effects on our bodies, and still we drink it so much, and it's such a, like, it's probably one of the most produced things in like the world, like along with rice or whatever. But yeah, so that's mainly why I stopped drinking. And honestly, like now, like if I listen to my heartbeat now, it's totally normal. Like I don't feel it jumping out of my chest, because that's what I used to feel before. I don't have jitters, like my hands aren't shaking anymore. I feel so much better, honestly. And so I just wanted to share this because if someone else out there has anxiety and you're watching this now, coffee could be the reason why you're feeling extra anxious. I mean, there might be also other things going on in your life that you need to take a look at, but if you're already anxious and you know that you're prone to having anxiety or panic attacks, I would say cut down on the caffeine you're drinking, or cut down on coffee at all, like cut it out of your life, because that could be honestly what's making you feel this way. So yeah guys, that's all I wanted to say in this video. Thank you so much for watching it all the way here, and I hope that this was somewhat informative, and that maybe this advice will help you if you do have anxiety and you do suffer with your mental health. It's such a small thing to take out of your diet, honestly, but it makes all the difference. And take it from me, because I'm literally like, most of the time I'm like jittery and nervous anyway, so yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye!